Hi guys, so welcome to my channel today. Thank you for stopping by on my space. So in today's tutorial guys, I'll be sharing with you all how I made this 6-piece blouse with a balloon sleeve or a puff sleeve with a princess dart cord. So I used 3 years of this Ankara print fabric to make this blouse, and trust me, if you should follow all the steps which I'll show you right here on this video, you will get exactly what you are seeing right here. So without much ado, I'll just get started. So guys, because the basic bodice block is essential and necessary to start with drafting of any dress, that is simply what I'm going to start with. So the first line which I marked there is my shoulder line, and you can see that I've gone ahead now to label, and it's also going to be my guide, and all my measurements will be starting exactly on my shoulder line. So the next, I went ahead to divide my shoulder of 16 inches into 2, and I have 8 inches plus half inch for seam allowance. I went ahead to mark my neck depth and my neck width of 3 inches and my neck depth of 5 inches. So I'm just giving a rundown on how to draft a basic bodice. I have a more detailed tutorial. If you don't know how to actually draft a basic bodice, I have a detailed tutorial on how to do that, because I believe I've done that countless times on this channel, so I didn't really see the point going all over again. So I just wanted to give a rundown of what you're supposed to do right here. You're to mark your shoulder to your nipple point, your shoulder to your under bust, and your shoulder to your half length. So the BP is my bust point, the UB is my under bust, the HL is my half length or my waist. So I marked my top length, and also I added half of an inch, which will serve as my hemming allowance, guys. So right here now, after all of these lines being taken, I'll go ahead and divide my nipple to nipple measurement of 8 inches into 2, and right there I'm marking 4 inches. So I'm going to use my straight ruler and connect all these points into a straight line, just as I've done right here. So right there on my bust point line, I'm going to go up by half of an inch and come down as well by half of an inch. So I'll make sure that the line touches the half of an inch which I came up by. So the next, I'm going to come to my dart leg, and towards the side facing the center front of my fabric, of my paper, I'll mark 1 inch, and towards the side front I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So I'm going to make a straight line and connect it up to my under bust, just as you can see I'm doing right here. So all together now I have 3 inches. So I'm just going to make a curl from the half of an inch under my bust point line up to my under bust, just like this, guys. So having done this now, you can see I made a mistake and cancelled it out right there. I'll come to my armhole, and from that point where I came down by 1 inch, and also I came down by half of an inch. So I'm just going to create a slight princess dart right here, because I'm going to actually cut this using a princess dart. So guys, you can see how I connected these 2 lines right into the half of an inch I came up by. So from the line underneath, the second line underneath my armhole, I'm going to extend I'm going to mark 1 inch and extend the line, and also create a new armhole. Please guys, please do know that while creating a new armhole, it shouldn't be too deep or far away from the original armhole curve, okay? So having done all of this now, I'll just start by dividing all my measurements by 4. So my waist circumference divided by 4 is 9 inches. I went ahead to mark it on the line labeled hedgel, and also my blouse length, because an extension will be added to this dress and is never going to be tied on the blouse length. So I've gone ahead to use my ruler to connect these points into a straight line. So on the bust point line, guys, I'm going to mark 1 inch upward and 1 inch downward. So all together there I have 2 inches. So I'm going to make a slanty point, this slanty line, sorry, and connect it into this other part of my dart. So you can see what I have right here. After doing all of that, on that my BP, that's the line, I'm going to mark half of an inch outward like this, and I'm going to connect just the way you see me connect with my ruler, just like this. So the next, I'm going to replace the 2 inches, which is for my classic dart. That is what, or my side dart. So I'll go ahead and replace it at my blouse length. So you can see I went ahead to replace it, and I'm trying now to extend the dart line up to the 2 inches which I just added. So guys, that is simply it now. So I'm going to replace my dart of 3 inches. So I will start by marking 3 inches on my blouse length and also 3 inches on my half length. So I'm going to just connect from my bust point line all the way into my blouse length. So I'm trying to note and make sure that what I have doesn't exceed 3 inches, which is my actual dart intake. So after this, I'm just going ahead now to cut this out exactly like this. So having done this now, I'm just simply going to extend this line underneath my bust point, and I'm going to cut it open and stop exactly at that point where all these lines intersect. Okay, so I'm going to cut down I'm going to open up, sorry, the underneath classic dart or the side dart, and I'm going to use my sellotape and tape this down. So you're going to find this a bit difficult or hard to tape, but trust me, you can just persist on doing this until you get exactly what you want. And once you do this, you notice that this is definitely going to be puffy. Okay, so for that is not looking really nice, so I'm going to go ahead now to trim it off a bit. So here I'm marking XX and I'm shading at the parts that will be going off. Okay, so I'm just going to redo my side allowance for it to blend in properly. Okay, so having done this, I'll go ahead and cut out the remaining parts of this that needs to be cut off. Okay, so guys, watch carefully how I'm cutting this. This is actually how you should cut yours as well. So having cut this out now, you can see what I have and you can see what it looks like. The next thing I will elaborate is my side front and my center front. Then I'll proceed to cutting out from my back blouse. So to get started with this, I first of all went ahead to mark half of an inch point, which is going to serve as my zip allowance, after which I'll use my straight ruler to connect all these dots into a straight line. So I'm just going to label that part my zip allowance, and all my measurements will be starting exactly on the line which I marked. So for my neck depth, I marked 3 inches, and I'm just going ahead to also draft another basic bodice. So I didn't do much here, I just went ahead and drafted a new basic bodice. And also mark my nipple to nipple point of 4 inches, and I'm using my ruler to connect the points into a straight line. So on the full blouse length, I'm going to come in and go out at both sides of this my dart leg by half of an inch, and I'm going to connect it all the way straight up to my bust point. So please do take note of all these labelings. It's a guide for you to know what each line stands for. So the next, I'll come to my armhole. For this back, I'm going to come down by half of an inch twice, just as you can see I did right here. Remember, for the front it was 1 inch and half of an inch, but for the back I'm coming down by ½ inch and ½ inch. Okay, so pay proper attention and you understand everything I'm doing right here. So I went ahead to connect into my bust point line. The first curve I made wasn't really giving. I had to redo the curve again. So this is it for the back, and I'll go ahead and also add my 1 inch, which is for my extension. So I'll go ahead as well to also create a new armhole. So on my half length, I divided my waist circumference by 4 and mark whatever I have right there, and also transfer the same inches I got on my half length on my blouse length. So after this, the next I'll replace is my dart intake after giving this my shoulder slope. Okay, before that, I'll come to my half length and go up by 5 inches. You can see the point I made right there, and also come down by 5 inches. So I'm going to make a point right there, and guys, you see how I am going to connect this. So the reason for this is to avoid all those bulginess that usually appears at the back of your blouse each time you wear any dress any zip is attached to. So I went ahead to replace my dart intake right here, and don't forget guys that stitching or sewing allowance hasn't been added to this blouse. I'm going to do that when I'm cutting out on my actual fabric. Okay, so that is all for the back part of this our dress. I'll go ahead now and cut this out. So I went ahead to label all of this. You can see my side front, my center front, my side back, and my center back as well. So here is the fabric I'm working with. I have my fabric, my lining piece, I have my stay and my peplum stay as well. So I'll proceed to cutting out right here on my actual fabric, guys. So firstly, you're going to fold your fabric into two, and the first part which I'll be cutting out right here will be my center front. So I'm just carefully going to place this like this and pin this down. So after pinning this down, I'm just going to mark half of an inch. This half of an inch is going to serve as the joining allowance, okay. So I'll just mark half of an inch all the way around like this. So after marking this, I'll proceed to mark my extension. So right here, I'm going to mark an extension starting from that line. So I marked an extension of 6 inches. So all this here is totally up to you. You can decide to mark an extension of 5 inches or 4 inches, but I went ahead to mark an extension of 6 inches. So I went ahead to take note of my half length, which is 17 inches, and from the extension I gave, I went ahead to connect all the way to my waistline, or my half length actually. So you can see that I actually stopped on the half inch which I marked. I didn't cut in to the paper. Okay, so for the side front, I'm going to fold this into two as well, and I'm going to take a measurement in order to ensure that my 6 inches extension can be able to accommodate on that area. So I went ahead to also place this my side front. As you can see, it is boldly written on each side front. I'll go ahead and pin this, and after pinning at the part that is cupped, I'm going to start marking half of an inch as well, just like I did for the center front, which is also going to serve as the joining allowance. So you're going to trace this the way it is and the shape, you maintain it and mark your joining allowance. So from the joining allowance, okay, I'll first of all, in order not to forget, add my seam or stitching allowance of 1.5 inches. Okay, that is at the side. So this is simply all of that. So now I'll go ahead to create an extension right here now. So from the half inch which I marked, I'm going to measure 6 inches. I'll connect it into a straight line and also slightly connect from my half length to my 6 inches extension side extensions. So for the side fronts, this extension will be added at both sides, unlike the fronts, the center fronts where it was just at one side. So for this side front, an extension will be added at both sides. So you can see that for the side, I made sure that this extension started from my seam of stitching allowance, and for the other part, my extension started from the half of an inch, which is 7 as my joining allowance. So guys, this is it, and this is how I'll continue cutting out on all of this my piece until I'm done cutting out totally on all of them. So I'm just repeating everything I did for the front part of my blouse. I'm repeating it for the back part as well. So I also maintain my 6 inches extension. I got my half length, I went ahead to connect. So I repeated the same method for all of this my piece, okay? And I've gone ahead now to cut out, guys. So I'll repeat the same procedure for the side back. So for the side back at both sides, I went ahead as well to also give an extension. So please don't get confused, or please don't forget, okay? So I'll give my extension at both sides. So guys, you can see how I've connected all of this now. So I'm done cutting out on my fabric. The next I'll proceed is to cut out on my lining piece, and also cut out on my stay as well, and also iron my stay to this my piece, and also the lining piece, sorry, to this my fabric and also the lining piece. So I went ahead to give those sharp pointy edges a bit curve, and you can see how nice this is already looking. It aligns perfectly with the other one. So right here I iron my stay to my fabric and then my lining as well, because I've gone ahead to cut out on my stay and my lining piece. So guys, the next I'm going to do is to iron my peplum stay to this my already drafted and cut out 6 piece. So guys, to know how I achieve this particular look, watch out for the second part of this tutorial. Trust me, it's worth it. Thank you for coming this far watching me. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. You're definitely not ever going to regret it. Till the part 2, see you some other time on the same channel. Bye.